All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Value Bomb Wednesdays. And in today's video, we're going to be going over this is actually part of a three-part series where we're going to be going over the best strategies on how to report and bring down your utilization. So this is part one. Make sure you guys stick to the very end because we got tons and tons of juice for you guys. A lot of strategies you guys might have never heard of, but for you guys, high credit card utilization can be the one thing that's holding you guys back from getting approved for loans, credit cards, or even funding you need to scale your business or invest in real estate. So today I'm breaking down specifically the debt snowball method. This is a very powerful strategy to pay off high credit card balances faster, except I've actually added an extra step to making it even more effective. And on top of that, I'm going to be sharing 3 practical ways to tackle your debt and improve your credit score. So again, stick around because at the end, I'll be sharing a tip on how this can even open the door to 0% funding opportunities. Again, this is part 1 of 3 series where I'm helping you guys get your utilization down, scores up, and eventually get you guys funded. So without further ado, let's get into it, guys. So first off, let's talk about what the debt snowball method is. This is one of the most popular ways to pay off debt because it keeps you motivated and builds momentum. So step 1 is you're going to go through each credit card. So if you have 5 credit cards, go through five of them. Find out what each credit card interest rates. Normally, interest rates for credit cards could be anywhere between like 15% and 30%, depending on what your credit score is in the bank. So go through and write down on each piece of paper, like, okay, Chase, they're charging me 25. Bank of America, they're charging me 20. Whatever it is, go through and write it all down. And then from there, we're going to identify which credit card has the highest interest rate to low. So go from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. So this is going to be huge because we're going to want to put these in order from highest to lowest. And then from there, we're going to continue making minimum payments on all the lower interest rate cards. So this is super important because if you're not able to pay it off in full, at least make the minimum payment. Yes, you'll be getting charged a little bit of interest on it. But if you miss that minimum payment, then you're going to get fucked and get hit with a late payment. And that's going to bring your score even further down. From there, now that we got the minimum payments on the lower interest rate cards, we're going to attack the highest interest rate card with a vengeance, literally making as large as of a payment towards it every time you get paid. So I'm sure if you already have a bunch of balances, you might just be shooting a little bit of money there, money here, money over there. Like, this is really good because we're focusing on the highest interest rate card, the one that's charging you the most, and we want to get that taken care of the fastest versus the lower interest rate cards. And then from there, once that one's paid below 30% utilization, do not make any other expenses spending on that high interest card, and change that from putting all your money into it to now the minimum payment. Now that's below 30%. And then from there, move on to the next highest interest rate card and then rinse and repeat that cycle. The goal is to keep paying the minimum payment on the lower interest rate cards, pay down the higher interest rate card down to 30%. Once it's down to 30%, move on to the next one and basically make the minimum payments. Just make sure there's always at least the minimum payment on it. So the reason why this works is this creates a snowball effect, right? Allowing you to build momentum as you eliminate each balance one by one. By attacking the credit card with the largest interest rate allows less of our money going to interest and more of it actually going into principal. So let me walk you guys through why utilization hurts you guys, but I hope that makes sense. If you guys got any questions, make sure to drop it in the comments below. I know I know a lot of people, they'll want to pay this down all the way down to its most zero balance, like nothing on it. And the reason why I say just 30% is because I'll be talking about it later is, but if you get all your cards at 30%, you could always go apply for a 0% interest business credit card and now use that 0% interest business credit card to pay off all these other high interest cards. So that's the reason why I want to get to 30% versus paying it all down to zero, because it'll actually allow you to get funding and get that 0% a lot sooner. That way you have some more breathing room and you're not having to worry that a lot of your money's going to interest. Because when you're trying to catch up with payments and money's going towards interest, it feels like one step forward and two steps back, because only a little bit is going to principal and then the rest is going to interest. So let's talk about why utilization hurts you guys for very obvious reasons. Number one is utilization makes up 30% of your credit score. If you're not keeping an eye on this, then this is going to completely fuck up your credit score. High utilization also makes lenders see you as a risk, which means higher interest rates or even outright denials for loans and funding. It also limits your opportunities to take advantage of 0% funding or other financing options to grow your guys' wealth. And then on top of that, you guys are wasting tons of money on interest with keeping high balances that aren't being paid off. Other thing too is overall utilization isn't as important as individual utilization. So the example I want to break down for you guys is, say you guys have 3 credit cards at 10K each, right? The first card, let's just say, the first 2 cards, let's say have 0% utilization, but the third credit card has 100% utilization, maxed out to the full 10K. Although the overall total utilization is going to be like 33%, one card is completely maxed out, and banks don't want to see that and can result in denials or lower limits if you do get approved. So the goal here is to get utilization below 30% per card, or even better, below 10% will help you guys get even better odds. 30% is kind of the maximum if it's a personal credit card. And the lower your utilization, the better your score and your chances of approval. So right now, you guys are probably wasting tons of money on interest with keeping high balances that aren't being paid. And I went through ChatGPT to help me write this script and just come up with this example, but this is something that the banks don't want you guys to know. I feel like this is why people think debt is such a bad thing, is because people let it go and they get stuck with only making the minimum payments if you're not responsible. But I want to give you guys a real life example. So let's just say, going back to that example, let's say you still owed $10,000 on that credit card, and let's just say there's a 20% APR. And at the moment, you're only able to make the minimum payment of 2% of the balance each month. So let's just say that's what you're making each month. Now, the cold hard truth though is, if you were to only make the minimum payments at 20% on 10K, the time it would take to pay it off would be 61 years. So that'd be 730 payments of you making just the minimum. And the total interest you're paying is $45,000 just for borrowing 10K. That's fucking crazy. And I really feel like a lot of people don't understand, like, this is how the fucking banks make money, you guys. They're charging interest, they'll give you these large limits and attach these APRs onto it. So if you're not careful and you're not responsible with it, you don't have a game plan of, okay, I'm going to borrow this money, but I have a way to pay it back. I'm going to get an ROI, or if that doesn't work, I have all these backup plans, then you will fuck yourself over. So that's why it's always good to be working with somebody who knows their shit, right? This right here, that's a shit ton of money. So if you have debt and you're only making the minimum payment, create the strategy, pay it off ASAP. Work your fucking ass off to get it paid down below 30%, because the longer you have debt sitting and not completely paid off, the more interest you're racking up. Any payments you make, again, it feels like one step forward, two steps back, because only some of the payments going to the principal and the rest is going to interest. So again, this is why it pays to have somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about and can come up with these creative strategies for you guys. So for the people who do have high utilization, comment the word utilization down below, and I will send you guys the notes to this whole slideshow deck so that you guys aren't just watching it, but you guys have these specific actionable items. Now, next thing I want to go over is, right now that we know that how the whole debt snowball effect method works, how are we actually going to pay it down? So I want to talk about these 3 practical ways to actually make that happen, because everyone's situation is different. So choose the strategy that works best for you guys. Because now that we know the strategy of how we're gonna, how the debt snowball method works, but like, how do we actually raise the money for it to actually pay it off? So right here, strategy number 1, we're talking savings, baby. So when it comes to savings, what I always say is, if you have savings already set aside, consider using a portion of this to pay down your high interest credit cards. The pros with this is you're paying off debt with your own money, so no one else is involved. You don't have to borrow from a friend or family or whatever, but once you pay off your balances, you'll free up more cash flow and save money on interest. So that's the pros of just like, if using your savings now is the difference between you being able to, afford rent and get evicted or whatever, then it's probably not the best strategy to use. But if you could afford to use some of the savings, then use it. If not, then this isn't the best idea. However, if high utilization is holding you back, this can be one of the fastest ways to improve your credit score and unlock new opportunities. So bite the bullet. Paying it down now will save you way more in interest payments down the road. So again, just make sure you guys still have enough money left over to maintain your personal and business expenses. If not, then maybe paying a little interest might be more worth it. Strategy number 2 is borrowing from friends or family. So the key thing here is borrowing from a trusted friend or family member. So the pros with this is there's typically, if it's your friend or family, they're not going to charge you interest. And if they do, they'll be pretty reasonable versus, if you're going out to a loan place, they might be charging 15, 20, 30% or something, which is fucked, Typically interest rates is either 0 to none. Which means 100% of the money goes off to paying your debt. And that's the crappy thing with these paying off credit card and utilization, is there is interest. So that's the big difference. Now, this can be a quick solution to getting your utilization down and rebuilding your credit. However, the cons with this is it can strain a relationship if you're not careful. So make sure you agree on clear repayment terms to avoid misunderstandings. I'm a big believer, if it's not on a contract, I'm not fucking agreeing to it. And you always got to have everything down on paper. Get receipts. And that's what I mean, like trusted friends or family. If this person has asked for money from a lot of people and has a history, then you already know to say no. If you're the type of person where you're borrowing money and if you're telling it you're going to pay them back by next month and you don't, then don't even do this, because you're the type of person that people hate to lend to, and it's just fucked up to put people in that position. So if you're that type of person, then don't even bother, because you don't want to be fucking up your relationships by screwing over your friends or family. But a suggestion I want to say is, 1, get in writing. The other thing too is, since you're asking for help, you want to be able to make this as low risk as possible for your friend or family. So give something of higher value compared to what the amount you're borrowing for collateral, to just make them feel safe for the lending and the help that they're giving you. So For example, if you have a car or just anything of value, just be like, hey, you can hold on to this, keep it until I pay you back or something like that. So again, work with someone you trust and a person that trusts you. If you are not responsible with money or don't have a defined way of paying them back, then skip this step. If you go this route, treat it as seriously as you would with any bank loan because your relationships are worth it. Let's get into strategy number 3 is this actually, I've actually used a combination of all this when I got fired from my job throwing music events, and I was fucking broke as fuck. So this stuff works, but this is something I used to do too, is get side gigs or extra hours. I remember I was driving for Uber and Lyft when I was literally living in Santa Monica. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, and they converted like the little dining room into a room and just had like a little, they literally just put a little section off, and that was my room. It was a bed and a desk, and that was it. And I was broke as fuck, and I was like, okay, I gotta make some money. I was working a seasonal job, and then I was like, I need more money while I'm working that, so I just doing Uber and Lyft, and that's where the side gigs and extra hours came in. So as far as this, here are the pros and cons. So you're earning additional money without dipping into savings or relying on the others. This is all on you. And once the debt is paid off, you can use the extra income to save or invest. Now, the cons with this is obviously it requires time and effort. As with anything, the shit's not going to go away. You put yourself in this hole, so don't think, it's going to be easy. You got to put in fucking work. Don't be a pussy. So you'll need to balance this with your other responsibilities. But if you're motivated and willing to hustle, this is a great way to knock out debt while building new income streams. So don't try starting your own. And this is a huge thing I want to deviate people. If you're hella in debt, when I say side gig, don't go out and try starting your own business from scratch, because this is way too risky and it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money to build something. My Airbnb business, fix and flips, this business that I have now, there's a long period. It'll be like 6 months, a year, sometimes even longer, where you're not really making that much money or anything. Honestly, a lot of the money you might have months where it's red. So go work for somebody else. Work for an established business, as the pay will be more guaranteed, and sacrifice the hours now to save you years of paying interest. So I remember when I got fired from that job, I was fucking broke as fuck. I worked for the Grammys in their customer support office. And this is a serious life hack that I feel like not a lot of people are doing, but instead of you working at like McDonald's, a very stressful, high pace, people don't appreciate you job where you're on your feet all day, go find a minimum wage job, whatever it is, where it requires you to, where you could just sit. Because I remember literally just sitting at that job, and there was barely any work to be done, but I just had to be there. So I would literally just study different side hustles. So I was getting paid to go learn. Go be like a night security guard or something, you know what I mean? Something where the side gig doesn't require too much attention, where you could actually get paid to study your other side hustles or whatever you want to do. So that's actually a little extra sauce for you guys. Highly, highly recommend it. If you guys aren't that far in your career just yet and you're struggling, that's how I made it out, at least. And I highly, highly encourage you guys to do the same. Now, those are the 3 ways of how you're actually going to be able to pay off the balances, but when you're implementing that debt snowball method. But that's the end of our video, you guys. Thank you as usual. In a later video, I will be dropping a training on how to pay down your debt, bring down your utilization, and raise your FICO score, all while using as little of your own cash as possible. So this episode was focused on debt snowball method and using your own cash. This next episode actually is going to be more focusing on where you're not using any of your own cash to get the utilization down and to increase your score. It's going to be very minimal, little or no money of your cash as possible. So if this is something that you're interested, comment the word "let's go" down below, And I'll also send you guys the notes for that when it comes out. But if you guys are ready to start paying down your debt and improving your credit, drop the word snowball in the comments and I'll send you the step-by-step PDF. So either comment the word snowball or utilization, doesn't matter. I'll send you the notes, step-by-step PDF, actionable stuff that you could actually do to where you're going to start seeing results ASAP. Also, if you guys are interested in using 0% funding to help you get out of high interest debt cycle or fund your next real estate deal, drop the word funding down below and let's chat about how we might be able to help you guys. So also, don't forget to share your questions or success stories in the group. We're here to help each other succeed. But as usual, peace out, much love, stay beautiful, and I will see you guys in the next one.